Hey guys, it's Will. Hopefully you're having a great day today. In this video, we're going to go over BigBear.AI has this potential and we got to get into the breakdown of it. But there's also some things you have to consider that most investors don't seem to be looking at that could be potentially not good for the company, and that's why we want to pay attention. So when it comes to Big Bear, we're going to jump in. We were covering Black Sky, we were in that position. It's been volatile the past few weeks, or past few days, I should say, but we're up in general about 84%. So we're going to cover that one. Outside of Black Sky, we also have some movement over uh, on bbai. So I'm just pulling up the chat so I can see y'all. Bernard, you got Carl, Johnny Daniels, Snacks on Snacks. What's going on? And we're going to jump in here to AI and defense here. So as we start to look at Big Bear, what do we have? We have this recovery up into these levels of $8.50 before getting rejected. And I see Gardijan is in here. You got Agua is in here. What's going on? Hey, how is it going? So it is now at this high. So let's talk about where we're getting to with Big Bear. I think we have some drawings here. If we don't, that's okay. So I'm going to delete all the drawings. So we're going to take a step back because, everything made sense as we went through and we've been really keeping a close eye on it. But we're actually going to just delete all the drawings. We're going to start fresh here. And I think I could just click delete all drawings. Here we go. Delete drawings. All right. We're fresh. So when we started covering it back here at $1 a share, there was some interesting parts about the company that caught our attention, but really we've seen a massive deployment. So, hey John, hey Carol, what's going on? JG, happy to see you here. So, when Big Bear announced they got this new CEO, okay, so Kevin McAleenan appointed CEO of Big Bear. This was January 2024. He was the founder of a company that Big Bear acquired. And some people joke like technically they acquired Big Bear because Pangiam was already getting a lot of momentum. Kevin McAleenan was U.S. Department of Homeland Security acting secretary. And what happened was this massive deployment. So everybody that I'm talking to, I don't know about you guys, has anybody in this chat right now seen Big Bear in the airports recently? Because I've been getting, I can count probably over 100 comments on YouTube, but also just on our live chats and stuff of people that have seen the VeriScan technology scan and they've had to go through the airports and they're getting scanned on their face. I don't know. Are you guys seeing it? And if so, let me know which airport. There's some airports that I see mentioned in comments that also haven't been shared by the company. So that's something to consider, right? Is that they haven't shared it yet because we already knew that they were going into a lot of these places before they announced it. So I was already getting comments from people saying, yeah, I saw it in Los Angeles. Kurt says, I saw it in Denver. Okay. I've seen it in Denver too. Some people say they are seeing it in SFO as well as Sacramento Airport. I've flown out of Sacramento. I don't think I've seen it. JG says, not yet, Will, but probably will see it when I use JFK. So you're flying out of JFK there. And that's great. I'm curious too, because like we get this outside view. Someone said there's some people that have been saying that it's in other airports that aren't mentioned here. So why do we mention that? It's this massive deployment. So Charlotte, Karthik says seen it in Charlotte. Okay. They have Charlotte listed here. So I think is that Charlotte Douglas International Airport? Is that the same one? And Carrie says Dallas. Now I've seen they got Dallas listed. So I'm wondering, because there's been some that have been commented that have not been listed by the company. The two notable ones are Sacramento, which I'll be flying out of Sacramento for an upcoming conference in the near term. So I'll check again. But then there's SFO. Maybe I'll be flying sometime out of SFO sometime soon. Big international flight if that's the case, but usually it's Sacramento. But I'll check because other people are saying they're seeing it at SFO. So, the Veriscan deployments have been super aggressive, and that's kind of what we're watching, right? So they also have a demo you could schedule. I wish we could just see a demo. That'd be kind of nice. But one of the things that we're watching in these upcoming earnings, and I think it's probably why we've seen increased positions from BlackRock and from Vanguard and State Street and Goldman Sachs and what have you, why we're seeing so many more increased positions than decreased is because of the rapid deployments that we're seeing. And so you guys let me know. I see a bunch of comments from people that are seeing it in different airports. So definitely you just let me know if you see it so that we can have that written down. Why is that important? I mean, it's like if you're investing in a shipping company or a airline company, let's say, and you know that they are, let's say, they are sending boats or starting to set up their ports over in a major city, and you're like, oh, that's going to be good. That's going to be more revenue for them or growth. Kind of the same deal here as we look at Big Bear. We're kind of saying, okay, that we've seen them grow on the results of this news, and they haven't even released their earnings yet. But that's something to watch. So we're going to also watch their uh, really want to keep a close eye over on their financials because a lot of these contracts could increase the revenue. And so we'll be seeing how that looks. And the balance sheet has really looked a lot more healthy. And so we're going to see the total assets here that they stay up around that 400 million price point. That would be great. And that the liabilities stay low as they have since they reduced their debt. And if we see that kick in and continue to hold, their net profit margins up 53% year over year. If we could see that continue, then that would be really good. Now, that's the other thing JG says. Will these deployments have to provide some type, or you say, will these deployments have to provide some type of recurring income stream, I would think. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. So in the next earnings, we're really going to see what that looks like. So what do the new technicals look like? What does the profit margins look like? And let's kind of break it down here. We're going to be releasing our earnings for next week in Stockmates. So when we have Stockmate here, you guys might know this was an interesting one by Zara. I just watched this infinite money glitch they're talking about, which was very funny, but also super interesting. Something to stay away from, probably MSTR, but to see what they're doing and how they're kind of duplicating money is really interesting. But anyway, when we have the earnings, we're going to be watching for next week because we had some big earnings start to kick in. It's been very quiet, but I think this upcoming week in Stockmate, when we have the earnings with the targets come out this week, we're going to see some things kick in for some very, very nice earnings this next week. And it's been great because once you start to see the financial institutions here, and you got TSMC, so things started to heat up there. ASML, which we traded ASML this week as well. That was a good trade. And so we're gonna watch and we're gonna see how the earnings look for this next week, because this could be a good market guidance. We see TSMC coming strong. Can we see next week's earnings coming strong for companies? That's going to be the question too. And so let's take a look here. APLD, as someone says. So here's what Neil says. He says, I see face scanning at Atlanta airport, but I cannot confirm if the device is BigBear.AI, maybe competitors. Yeah, Leidos is a competitor. So we'll take a look. That's a good one. How you tell they have a logo. I have a video of myself when I got scanned at the airport. I took a video of what it looks like so you can kind of tell. But they have a logo on their scanner, so you can't see it here, but it's like, kind of looks like this, a Big Bear logo like this, and it's bouncing around the screen. Ding, ding, ding. And then it shows your face here, kind of like this right here, and it scans you. So there are ones at TSA. They're also at the gates. That's where I think the revenue could be too, going at the gates. Okay, so again, the chart. We see a previous resistance here at $8, a previous support at $8, previous resistance. So we've got to map that out right there. And that's actually where we're at right now. We kind of talked about this on Friday, that this resistance level where they got rejected, they sold back down to this $8 price point, and we're looking for it to, in this hyper bull trend, potentially act as a support. So when we're in a hyper bull trend like we were here, every resistance was acting as a support. You guys remember, every resistance, essentially every resistance was acting as a support. Kind of see that there. See that? So every resistance acting as a support. So what does that mean? Well, now we're getting into this new trend where it recovered. And we have this previous resistance at $8 we're going to watch here. And then you have a resistance and support down here. It's kind of this zone here that we're going to watch around 750. If it doesn't hold $8, we got to watch that 750 round really closely, that 750 range, excuse me. And now what's the next resistance that we want to watch too that it could potentially bounce up to? We're talking about, let's take a step back. You got over here, looks like you got resistance levels and support here, kind of a resistance, pretty strong consolidation here, and then you got support, resistance. So I think if we just stretch that out here, whoa, gotta get through the valley. Kind of looks something like that. Does that look pretty straight? I think so. So this is what institutions potentially could be watching here. So next resistance level at that $8.70 range if we're hyper bullish. So it could bounce below this $8 range here, but really what we're watching is this move. It's about an 8% swing up into highs of that 870. So about a 9% swing. And then of course, kind of the next level, there is a resistance level at 960. There was a support for that hyper bull trend last time. But we're going to watch really 960 up into that $10.50 range. So again, kind of taking a step back here, you can kind of see it would look something like this. If we get to those highs, kind of up into these levels, be about a 30% increase up in that 960 to 1050 range, about a 30% increase. So that's kind of what bulls are kind of looking at next. It's definitely pretty high up there. You could see it was getting super volatile, and we could see it sell back down. So near term, we could see that, but we do want to watch this $8 range, because if it holds, we could see some serious bullish direction kick in. And especially ahead of earnings, we want to watch. If they come in with really good earnings, it's possible they continue into some unprecedented levels. If steam loses, if we see it lose steam right now, we know why. It's because of the earnings not coming in yet, and we could see the price potentially drive down before earnings, and maybe that's what we see. My thesis, at least for the last couple of months, actually, back here, was like, I think we're gonna see Big Bear run and do really well up until earnings, and then maybe the contracts come in and it's not maybe as much revenue as investors might have hoped at that moment, and then we see a temporary big correction and then a continue up. That was kind of my thesis, but anything could happen. That's why it's important to have a target goal. So if we trade it, let's say on Monday, and it's holding this $8 range, we could trade it looking for that 10% swing up into this level, that 9 to 10% swing, and just have a very, disciplined stop. But I'm just going to continue to hold our long-term position we have down at 280. We've been holding it for a long time, and we have long-term positions we bought in and Big Bear. So we just continue to hold. But yeah, that's kind of how the near term looks with these levels. So again, $8 kind of support there that we want to watch closely, and maybe get up to that 875. Otherwise, if it breaks that, we're kind of looking at a 750 to below. There's not any seriously clear trend at the moment, other than kind of this bull trend that we see it get back into. Just very clear support and resistance levels to watch there. So we'll be watching there. Now, I got a few other things to ask you guys, because So someone says, Steven says, I think the contracts with the airports ports are part of a big multi-year contract. So you think that the airport contracts are part of a multi-year contract? I don't know that they're. I think it could be more diversified or segmented in how they're doing business than you might think. Because they have the Department of Defense and like Pentagon contracts and things like that. But when you look at the very scan, at least this is what I was seeing, is that they were going directly to the gates partnered with the company. So like you have like the Delta gates with like all the Delta airlines. They're going into the gates, like where you get on the airplane. It was Frontier. I saw that as well in Denver International Airport. They had them at every like Frontier gates. So there is an element of like a multi-year contract or something bigger with TSA or Homeland Security or what have you. But when it comes to like the ports or at the airports, for example, you are seeing them go direct to companies. And I don't know if that means they're sharing data with the companies or there's something there because there's obviously it's a value proposition for the companies too. Why would the companies pay why would the company Delta pay Big Bear, you know? I think that there's probably some sort of deal there that it could be maybe a data deal of some sort, but we don't really have any details on that. We are just able to see it firsthand, you know? So that's kind of what that looks like. So Dylan says, could these get into high schools for security, paying for a bus ride, theft protection, uh, uh, retail, or not are these ideas not this company? um, Dylan, that's a great question. They have some partnerships with other non-government agencies and non-border protection type things where they do pay points, where it's like in order to pay, it does a facial scanner. But as far as could that happen? Yes, absolutely that could happen. But as far as what's being deployed right now, the only news that we have that's similar to what you're talking about, which actually is, I mean, that's like big market. That's not big market or Big Bear. That's like Big Brother. You might want to read that book from 1984, Big Brother, because that's kind of what you're talking about, where they scan everybody and everything uh, for Big Brother, right? So they announced it was back in early 2025 for I think it was PayPoint or SoftPoint here. Point of sale payment leader SoftPoint selects Big Bear for facial recognition matching. So we know SoftPoint's a big company. I think their CEO is invested heavily in quantum, and one of the big backers of the what was that huge bill? Stargate, the Stargate AI bill. There was billions and billions of dollars. SoftPoint was one of the companies. And so Big Bear is working with them. And these are biometrics for businesses for enhanced security, streamline operations, and elevate customer satisfaction in payment experiences. And so I think that's maybe not through two other companies, but they went direct to SoftPoint, who's connected with other companies. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Dylan. That's kind of a route where they could go that route for sure. Eric says BlackRock filed a Scheduled 13G and now own more than 5% of Big Bear. We do see that. That's a good point. We were just talking about that a second ago with BlackRock kind of owning more. John Smokey says, shouldn't the companies go down admitting they're using fake? Yeah, I mean, should their stocks go down if they're admitting to using facial recognition? I mean, depends how well constructed it is and how much it improves the customer experience. It's like Apple, their stock only went up when they added facial recognition because people love to use their facial recognition. Is it controversial? Yeah. Was I just think because you can look at my iPhone. Do you guys see my iPhone right now? So my iPhone has a cover on the camera. Do you see that? Has a cover on the camera. and I can slide it like that if I want to use it. So I do that for privacy, and I do it for things like protection of the camera so it doesn't get damaged. But I was just thinking about an hour ago. I'm like, man, I'd kind of like to have a thing on the fronts too. So anyway, it's a valid concern. I've had some really good conversations, especially with people in defense or military. They really know there's a lot of things that are good to know about that. Thomas, $4.99 sent me over. He said, "What are your thoughts on CTM? Is there any rumors circulating about any more contracts apart from the Navy one? And what do you think on the price?" Yeah, we take a look there, Thomas. You got Steven says, I need a run because I gotta finally take some profits. We could see what that looks like. Roy Lowe says here that where do you see APLD? I just did a full breakdown of APLD. Let me go grab it and just drop it into the chat for you. So you can just go get it and then you can watch it yourself. And you just tell me what you think. It's super up to date because it's about 6 hours fresh. So I will drop it in the chat for you to go have a look. And Kenny, thanks for the $50. I appreciate it. I see Kenny came in generously with the $50. What was that for, Kenny? You don't have to send me $50, my dude. Appreciate you, man. So I'm sending over that link here. One moment. And we'll jump right back into it. So I got the chat here. Here we are. Okay. I just sent it over there for you. Full breakdown on APLD. You can go check that video out. So here's what we're seeing here. So Kenny says, keep it up. Appreciate it, Kenny. Let's go, Kenny. Kenny and I have a relationship. Kenny's happy to see that Big Bear is sitting at $8. Kenny, do you want to tell him the story? I'll let you tell it. If you want to tell him the story, you could tell the story and then we'll read it. Johnny says, what are the thoughts on Planet Labs? I would love to take a look at it. So I think that kind of wraps it for Big Bear, right? So we got that $8 support we'll be watching. We'll be looking for that potential increase up into that $8.70 range. And we got a support down there at about $7.45 that if it breaks that $8 price point, Big Bear, then that $7.45 range, it would be the next support if it can't hold bullish right now. Otherwise, kind of targeting this 8% swing up into this 872. It is a little more on the aggressive side, and we got to see how the greater market kind of reacts. That's how it looks, right? So let's get into, when you talk about defense companies, we talk about Big Bear making this run, continuing up into this $8 range, really trying to drive up into that $10 range. It's up big recently, and we're in it from a low price, and I love to see that people are making money and it's doing well, and we've been covering it. It just continues to rock. I love it. Been getting some great testimonials, great amount of enthusiasm and people that are making money, and that's what it's all about. It's great. But realize there could be a pullback here. We do know why are they growing is we have increased defense spending. We got more defense spending from the US government. And what does that mean? It means it opens up opportunities for companies like CTM. So CTM is another one we've been covering really extensively. And I think we actually had a full breakdown on CTM last night. So if you want to go grab that, you can always see it. But when it comes to CTM stock, they're kind of similar in the same types of industry. So what you got there is they're in defense. They are having partnerships with the Army. They got partnerships with the Navy. There's a $100 million contract here with Navy. They specialize in processing large amounts of data for the US government. They do intelligence, surveillance, and special missions. A lot of the contract money they've seen recently has come from Navy, and we've looked at them for a little while here because they have a lot of growth happening recently, but they are not hyped. There's not a lot of hype. It's pretty straight up. They do have some public offerings, which is not always good, but can be good because it builds their balance sheet. Now we start to see more hype kick in, so be careful. They're only $135 million market cap. We've been covering them since probably around $50 million market cap, somewhere in there. And it's been a good one to cover, right? So we've seen it here. We've seen it as low as 60 cents. We see it continue this uptrend right now. And it broke out above here. And we're kind of targeting the next level here is this 20% increase up into this $1.70 range. So why are they good? Well, they got pretty good consistent revenues of about $11 to $12 million per quarter. Just a tad bit negative on the net income, but their net income's up there about 71% year over year. Their balance sheet is very healthy. Quarterly, you see them really improve their assets. And how many of you guys have seen that they cut their debt below $5 million on their cash? That's going to be pretty big. So they just announced a while back that they cut their debt even further. So they might come in really nice in the balance sheet in their next quarter. We'll just have to see if the revenue can hold that $12 million mark or continue even more up to justify. But other than that, financials have looked fairly good. And we see them now targeting this $1.70 range. Now, they did just get rejected. There's a previous resistance, though, here at about $1.45. Excuse me, $1.45 right here. And that's what we want to watch. So $1.45, you see that it sold back down to from that $1.56. Now it's kind of holding this level. And we're watching the other level that it could sell down to, which would be more conservative, would be selling as low as that $1.30 range. And that would be healthy and fine. But really, again, what we're looking for is that continuation up into that level at about $1.70. So that's kind of what we're targeting. As far as financials go, some of the news, that's what we got going on. So when it comes to the growth of CTM, it's one that we got to keep a close eye on. They got some good contracts. The financials have looked good, and we'll continue to keep a close eye on them. And I appreciate you all. Thanks so much for tuning in. The last stocks that we've been covering, AI stocks, the quantum stocks, but we've also been really into the space tech lately. We were trading quite a lot this week. We were trading Black Sky. We were in OSS a little bit. That was in and out. It didn't really do much, but we were also trading outside of there. We were in Redwire. We traded Redwire pretty heavily this week. I think I think we're still in it, or did we sell out? No, we're still in it. So we just entered this trade basically on Thursday, I think it was. And we bought into Redwire because we were really looking for this continuation up. So we're going to be watching space tech, all that stuff. That's a trade. It's up about $912. And it's a pretty good trade, honestly, because what was the percentage? It was about an 8% swing, because it wasn't a huge position, fairly small, but it, about a $9,000 position or $10,000 position, and you see it make that 10% swing. I mean, $900, 2 days, let's go. So a lot of growth there. We're going to be watching AI. We got space tech. We also were trading TSLL, which is Tesla. I've been fairly bullish on it for the last few weeks. I think it's going to continue up. I don't know. I just got that feeling. I don't want to say it's a feeling, but it definitely is based on some serious growth in the robotics and in AI. And just seeing Starlink fly over my house last night in a new launch they did yesterday. It was beautiful. I was walking outside with my wife, see the Milky Way here in Northern California, and we see the Starlink. There's just stuff like that, where you're like, man, this company's got an advantage. So AMD, same deal. We've been trading AMD the past few weeks. It's crushing it. AMD is up about 52% since entry there. Part of that is because of the growth in data centers. Second part of that, I think, is the Starlink that they're providing the microchips for Starlink. So, there's a lot of reasons to watch quantum right now. So we're in quantum. If you guys want to stay up to date on the markets, make sure to subscribe. If you haven't already, you want to get the targets for the upcoming week, which companies are reporting pre-market and after hours, and then get into our daily live trading session that happens every day, Monday through Friday at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you would like to surround yourself with other investors that are having really great returns. The best return really in the last 2 weeks, I mean, I don't know, the ones that was posted. I know some people had some nice returns, but I think the best return that was posted in the last week and a half, 2 weeks here, is probably from David. David went ahead and doubled his portfolio here. So he was able to, in 4 months, basically double his portfolio, 100% all-time returns since getting into StockMate. So, just really good stuff that's happening there. If you want to join us there, I'll send you a free t-shirt and you can join us in our market live session. And it's recurring, but you can get lifetime access to it. It's the second link in the description down below to join StockMate in our live session on Monday. Would love to see you there. Got William Walker here, CTM. Let's go. We covered it. Appreciate you, BBI, and we covered it. BBI, William says he's up 152% on BBAI. That's awesome. Let's go. And thanks, guys. Hey, Brandon. Good to see you here today. And congrats to David. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, David. David works hard. I call customers too every time they join, and I've talked to him a few times, and he's been just giving me really good insights. I remember every time I talked to him, I said, David, you're on the right track. I don't have anything for you, my man. He's got the attitude and everything else. It's going good for him. And then Batbone says, liking my returns, I'm up 300%. I mean, maybe it's something that is becoming a little bit more normal with AI, that people have really good returns. But I think that's in certain cases almost feels like we're in this anomaly of a beautiful situation where people are having extremely good returns in short amount of time in this boom of AI right now. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely something to take note of. It's like the stuff we write down and we'll look back and be like, oh my gosh, what a time. Steven says, Joby seems better. Yeah, we take a look there. No, the financials were off. But again, guys, appreciate you all. Hopefully you have a great day. Joseph, last thing he says, did you hear BBAI's in the Golden Dome defense? We were just talking about it. That's why I bring up Redwire, actually, the space tech here. They're the number one partner for BigBear.AI in the space tech industry. So if you search BigBear.AI and Redwire, you'll find this company. Because I was talking with Redwire actually at a conference. That's how I know. And I also saw that they released an article there. But anyway, guys, appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your Saturday. And again, if you want to join us on Monday in the live session, it's the second link below. If I earned your thumbs up, smash that like button. Shout out to Thomas. Thanks so much for the money in the chat. And Kenny for $50. Kenny's an OG. He got StockMate when Big Bear hit $8 a share. That was awesome. Bat Bones, I agree. Yeah, we'll take a look, man. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your Saturday, and I'll see you in the next live session.